Hello, 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 hello. Give me a second. I had some trouble with my equipment this morning, so I'm just making sure everything's working. Let's see. Looks like it's working. It's a little dark. Let me open up like a window or something. I don't know. That help? That helps a little bit. Maybe I'll open up this window. We're getting all the natural light in here today. That never happens. Let me see. This is wild. This is wild. I never have these windows open. I'm only doing it for you guys. In fact, I don't actually like it open that much. Um, we'll deal with it. We'll deal with it. We're gonna get started in just a second. Wow, this is really bright. It's a little too bright. All right, I'm closing it a little bit. Let a little bit of the light in. I don't want to get crazy. All right, this is good. We're gonna stay right here. Let me go over here. Let's see what questions we got coming in. That light was the light issue's been bothering me, so I'm sorry. Let's take a look at what questions we got. Hey everybody, I see everybody coming in. I haven't looked at anything. Let me like figure out what I'm actually doing really quick. Let's see. From Salish C. What's going on? I'm down down south. I'm down in South Carolina. So hey, I'm from the United States. I don't know where Salish C is. I'll have to look that one up. Yeah, you did make the live. Hey everybody, I'm noticing some faces I recognize already. Hey everybody. From Nigeria, Egypt. Let's see. Iraq, very cool. India, awesome. Now if you haven't been on one of my live streams, typically all I do is I just answer questions. We just chat, we just talk, we hang out. I'll answer just about any question that you guys have. We just see how it goes. Usually I go like an hour and a half, fully dependent on how many questions we have. We have about almost 200 people right now at the beginning. Sometimes it gets a little more and then it's hard to keep up with questions. So I'm gonna do my best, but let's get started with the questions so I don't fall behind too far. Before I even started the live stream, Ameni Benur asked a good question, and I think this is a question that a lot of people have with not just this skill, but other skills. And the question is in a job interview, how can I show that I'm confident with my skills in Power BI, even though I don't have experience working with it? This is a super common one, and this is one that I had trouble showing when I first started, right? It's like, how do I show I have SQL skills? How do I show I have XYZ skills? Or that you're confident in it? The answer to that is a few different things. The first thing is just really working in it a lot to understand the terminology, understand how it actually works, so that when they're like, hey, how do you use Power BI? You can talk specifically about things that only someone who would have experience would actually, talk about. Experience being you've built things in Power BI for you specifically. So for me, what I would do is I would build out a project. And we talk a lot about projects in or on my channel in these live streams because a lot of people don't do them. They don't see the value in them. I am a big believer in projects. If you've done my data analyst bootcamp, there's a bunch of projects in every skill because I'm a huge believer in it. So when you build that project, if somebody in an interview asks you, how much have you used Power BI? You can say, yeah, I'm really good. I've been using it for, let's say, 6 months, a year, however long. I built this project and I use these types of visualizations, and here's how I transform the data in Power BI. And you can walk through the steps because you've done the steps, because you built a project. That's what I would do. Let's see. Drewski, I like that name. That's a cool name. It says, I've read many articles that always say to focus on one tool. Would you agree with this? I want to expand my knowledge in Excel, Power BI, Tableau, and Python. Would this be a bad thing to learn all of them? I'm very thirsty today. I don't know why. So I'm going to be drinking a lot of water. It's not a bad thing. But that's what I did when I first started. I started trying to learn everything. Or I was trying to like learn a little bit of Python, Tableau, etc. And I got really confused because I didn't have any one thing understood. Why is Wendy's texting me? They want me to try the new ghost pepper chicken. Sorry, I got distracted. But that's what I did. I didn't become an expert or even like baseline level good at any of these things. So, you can go check out my data analyst bootcamp, but how I prefer people learn it is learn all of SQL. SQL is a great fundamental skill. You learn about how data sits in tables and rows and columns. You see how you can transform the data. That's very applicable to things like Tableau and Excel and Power BI, because you're going to see similar formatted data in everything. Now, Python's very different, much more programming heavy, but I don't think, in my opinion, I would try to learn everything at once. I would try to learn one thing, practice it, get good at it, specifically SQL, and then transfer into other skills. That's what I would do. Can a high school graduate be accepted as a data analyst with no experience, but already knows how to be a data analyst who just learned in a boot camp? Yeah, for sure. It's very possible. It's more difficult. 100%. You're not going to sugarcoat it. It's definitely more difficult. That's almost in any area in tech. If you don't have a degree in it, if you don't even have a bachelor's degree, it's much more difficult because most job requirements require a minimum of a bachelor's degree. Even when I was working, as a manager, I had my team, or even before that, when I was just a data analyst and I was on a hiring team, we had to, per the company's requirements, we had to have a minimum of a bachelor's. We really weren't allowed to really hire. That was like a Fortune 7 company. It's called AmerisourceBergen. So that company really didn't allow us for these technical positions to hire if they didn't have a bachelor's degree. That was just a requirement. So it does become more competitive. You do limit yourself in terms of what jobs you can get, but it's definitely possible. I always say the exact same example, but I have other examples, but probably my best example. One of my first mentees that I ever worked with during my mentorship program, he was a warehouse worker. His name was Sergio Ramos. You can look him up on LinkedIn. Highly recommend following him because he doesn't have a bachelor's degree. He was a warehouse worker out of high school. Did that for several years and was like, I just need to change. So I helped him and he followed basically what I put into the data analyst bootcamp. That's why I keep referencing it. I basically told him to do that and I helped walk him through that before I built it. And he now works at PayPal as a data analyst. Just got hired on full time a couple months ago. I was just talking to him like 2 days ago. So it's absolutely possible. You just have to like really hustle. You really have to hustle. So yeah, it's definitely possible. Next one is from Brandon Schultz. Says, how do you know when you're proficient with SQL and what makes you proficient? Are there standard guidelines? And also, what are the most essential skills that stick out as the most important skills? Okay. SQL is my bread and butter. I've made a career. I could have probably not learned Python. I probably could have not learned either Tableau or Power BI. Like if I just knew SQL, Excel, and maybe like Tableau, I could have gotten almost to where I am now. In terms of like data analyst career-wise. SQL is my bread and butter. I highly recommend you learn SQL. If you're watching this right now and you're like, should I learn SQL, Alex? Is it worth it? Yes. Even with all this AI stuff coming out, I am so confident it's still going to be an exceptionally important skill to learn. With that being said, what are the guidelines? There aren't really any guidelines. Typically what you're looking at for like an entry-level position, you really need to know how to filter data for the most part and join data. Those are two of the more important things. And then group by and aggregations. You can stop there. I, of course, in my tutorials that I have, I go a lot higher than that into Windows functions and stored procedures and all these other things. You can stop. You just need to be proficient in those things. Knowing how to use the where statement, knowing how to group by, simple aggregations like min, max, average, and then knowing how to join data together. If you can get proficient at those, you can do a lot of what an entry-level data analyst is going to do. And then when you get an entry-level data analyst job, you'll start learning things like stored procedures, jobs, or what do they call them in MySQL? Oh, my mind's blanking. Triggers. And so in scheduling. So you can like learn these more advanced things when you're on the job, but typically for an entry level analyst, you just need to know those things. That's what I will say. In order to stick out, I mean, you can start learning like Windows functions. You can create like, you can create reports in SQL to automatically like send reports. That's some more advanced stuff. Things I didn't really do till I was like 3 years into using SQL, but that stuff could make you stick out for sure. Oh geez, I'm way behind on questions. I'll get there. I'll catch up. Diksha Singh said, hello, Alex. I was waiting for this live stream for a long time. Wait no further. It is here. Let's see. Do you provide career guidance services and data analytics? I used to have a mentorship program. I stopped doing that last December. I did it for over 2 years. So I did it for a long time. And so like almost 100 people I worked with. But I don't do it anymore because I quit my full-time job to do my data analytics consulting, which is called Alex Analytics. So I started doing that, and now I work with startups and I've worked with some tech companies, but not like some of the biggest ones. Like I haven't worked with like Google. And then I work with brands and stuff to help them know how to like market their products and stuff like that. So I do a lot of different stuff, but no, I don't really do a lot of career guidance these days, just because I've been doing my business and that's probably more than a full-time job. What are the skills required to become a data engineer? I don't know. I mean, I do know, but that's not my area of expertise. Go follow, and let me give you the specific name. For data engineering, there's one guy, his name's Ben, but I want to get his full name for you. Here it is. It's Benjamin Rogojin. He is fantastic, and he has a YouTube channel as well. So if you're into data engineering, let's see if I can find his, what's his, oh, here it is. The Seattle data guy. Always forget. I've met him in real life. Like I know him, but I just keep forgetting what his channel's called. Seattle data guy, Ben Rogojin. Go check him out. He's great. Really, really good. Let's see. Why are you, Manish Walia? Now this comes off, I feel like this is aggressive. That's my opinion. You take it how you want. Why are you not making more project videos such as Airbnb, Amazon, Uber, any social media company? Just been doing other things. I mean, I just created, we just finished our Pandas series, which was great. We are about to go into web scraping and regular expression with Python. And then we're going to the MySQL series, and I have projects for those. What more do you want from me? Like, I'm trying. No, really, I mean, I do plan on doing that. Oh, my father-in-law is calling me. Let me text him real quick. When the father-in-law calls you, you gotta text back. He's not gonna like this. I'm in the doghouse for this one. No, I'm just kidding. All right, I texted the father-in-law back. No, that's the only reason why. I plan on doing more. I want to do some Twitter ones if I can, if it's possible. Call me again. Or what was the other one I was thinking about doing the other day? I can't. I have it written down somewhere. I'll do more. I promise. Let me see. I'm skimming through some questions. Keep asking the questions. I'll hopefully catch up. Hope we get to hear news about Microsoft Fabric. You can just go check out my video. There's not a ton of news. They have like a preview. So I have an account. I have gotten into Fabric. I've been able to mess around with it. That's how I got some of the information where I made the video. But, you know, it's not fully built out yet. It doesn't have CoPilot. It doesn't have everything done, right? It's not a full-fledged product, which is interesting because, I mean, it's not unheard of for Microsoft. They tend to announce things and give it to you like 6 months, a year later. But Microsoft Fabric seemed to be more of a full-fledged product. They already have a preview. I can go in and do it, but they don't have like certain pieces to it that are ready yet. So I can't really do like a full hands-on review, importing data, messing around with it, seeing how it actually works, which I will do in the future. Oh, geez. if you guys, it skipped down to the bottom again, guys. I was about to answer a cool question, then I lost it. Just 1,000 questions here. Good night, I'm way behind. I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna have to shorten my answers. We got too many questions to get through. Let's scooch this way a little. I don't know why. That was weird. It's going like this. Don't mind me. Hey from Sri Lanka. Hey, how's it going? Hey from Canada. Mike, what's going on? Let's see. Akasha Kumar, give me a super chat. Thank you so much. You didn't have to do that, but I'll answer your question real quick. I've been prepping for data analyst. No luck with any jobs. Should I look into volunteering my analyst services? You don't have to do this. And this is actually a really interesting question. I've encouraged people to do this. And I still encourage, if you want to do that, to do that. I did it when I was first starting out. There was a local nonprofit that I was just on their website one day. My family, we donate some money to a charity every single month. And so we were looking at charities and I found this one. I was like, oh, geez. I've just started learning data analytics and I'm looking at this and this is just a bad way to display the data. Like, it was something I cared about and I was like, I wish they could like redo this or make this better. And I was like, wait, I could do that. So I just reached out to them, sent them an email. I was like, hey, I'm data analyst. Don't think I was at the time, or maybe I just got my first job. I was like, I saw your website. I really love your cause. I feel like I could make this better and people would really be able to see the impact that you guys are having on the community, which I really care about. And so they let me come in and I went in person and like met them and redid that stuff for them. And so it helps. And then I put that on my resume too. So it wasn't just like, I gave back and that was really important to me, but then I also used that to put that on my resume as like a project. And so, yeah, I think volunteering is very good. You can also, ask like friends and family for like businesses and stuff. It doesn't have to be volunteering. You can also try to like work for somebody, it's just hard to say, but yeah, volunteering I think is definitely something everybody can do or try to do. Let's see. Arvind Nadar said, hi, Alex. Thanks for all the help. My question is, what should be the next steps after completing the Google Data Analytics certificate? So the certificate is really good. If you were just starting, this is who I recommend that for, by the way. If you're just starting out, you really don't know much about data analytics. You don't really know exactly what they do. It's kind of like an intro course. And it covers a lot of good topics. Some stuff that I don't, like the theory behind data analytics, a lot of the terminology, which eventually I'm going to try to do to just make them obsolete, in my opinion. But the next steps after you do that, so you learn a little bit of SQL, Tableau, Excel, or is it in Google Sheets? I can't remember. You learn a little bit of about that stuff. What I would do after that is I would try to dive more into those skills. You really just learn the base level. You get an intro to it. I would dive into those skills more and start building out more projects. That's what I would be doing. What's my opinion on Google Looker? I've used Looker. I used it in my past job and we eventually transitioned away from it. The only reason we transitioned away, it was actually pretty easy for people to use, which I liked. What we didn't like is we couldn't customize the visualizations as much as we had wanted. That was the reason so it's a great tool to learn. And in a lot of companies will put that in like job descriptions. They want like Looker. So, it can be good. Let's see. So it says, hi, I'm trying to land a fresher data analyst job. If you don't know what that is outside of the United States, it's just an entry-level data analyst job, like one of your first jobs. Will your guided projects be enough for a good portfolio? In my opinion, it's way better than anything I had. If you go way back in the video history books, that's not the right terminology, but if you go way back on my channel, look at some of the first videos I made, I talked about how I got my first job as a data analyst. I even shared my portfolio. It was literally an attachment of SQL scripts that I had written on the back of my resume. That helped me land my first job. The projects that I have made for you guys, and then you guys go and do and make better and you learn a lot from, those projects are 10 times better than anything I had when I was first starting out. Nobody was doing nobody was creating these projects like I do. So yes, These projects are definitely good to create a portfolio. I also have a video on how to create a portfolio website, which then you can create the web. It's all free. You can create the website, put it in your resume on your LinkedIn, all that stuff. Highly recommend it, 100%. Let's see. Reading through more questions. I've completed the analytics certificate, but not getting a job. Okay. I won't answer many more questions about the Google Data Analyst certificate just because there's 100 things. You can find resources on this a lot of places, but here's my take on it. It's an entry-level certification. And certifications don't mean as much in data analytics, doesn't mean much in data science, data visualization. Those certifications aren't as important as things like IT, cybersecurity, stuff like that. So certifications in our field aren't as important. So it's a certification, but it's more just like, hey, I learned some of the basic skills. You need to go above and beyond that. And you really need to build projects and you build a great resume, which I have videos on all these things. You need to go quite a bit further into it. That's my opinion. Are you still not recommending any SQL certifications? No, there are none. In fact, there used to be one that I recommended. It was the Microsoft SQL Server certification. And they scrapped that and combined a bunch of different Microsoft certifications into the Microsoft Data Analyst certification. So it's part of that now. So that is one that I kind of recommend. There's a better one though. It's the Microsoft Power BI certification. I just think that one is more specific and better. But there are very few. If you go on alextheanalyst.com or you just look at some of my videos where I talk about it, I specifically highlight some of the certifications that I actually think are worth it, but they are not required by any means. I don't think so. What's my opinion on the pharma industry as it works to data analysis? Well, you're asking the right guy because that's the industry I worked in. I worked at a company called AmerisourceBergen. We do a lot of logistics. That's a large part of the business, is like sending medication to different places. But I worked in the department where we worked with like clinical trials, pharma, hematology, oncology, so blood, cancer, data. Data in pharma is huge. It's massive. Like our team we were a smaller team. We were a data science team within a much larger department, and there were other departments that did similar stuff with different products and whatnot. But they're huge. Pharma is huge with data. So data analysis in pharma is super important. Can we follow your boot camp for a data analyst job? I would say, and I'm not just saying this, I've been adding to it and it's gotten better. I would say that if you follow my boot camp, it's probably better than most paid courses or even some boot camps out there. You just don't get a mentorship with it, right? It's all self-paced, but sorry, I got an itchy nose. But it has some of the best content. Like if I had something like that when I was first starting out, I would have done much better or known the skills a lot better. I just kind of cobbled together a bunch of courses and stuff like that. But now I've made my own for free, and I feel like it's really good. I honestly think if you learn that, you can get an entry-level data analyst job with just that, just following the boot camp. That's my opinion. Is it important to study models and machine learning for our first data analyst job? No, it's not. You won't use, for any entry-level data analyst job, you should not be using any machine learning. They would be lying. That's a data science role. Models or modeling the data, I think it's a little bit more advanced. It's a more challenging concept. I started doing data modeling about 3 years ago, when I was actually working more with like the data engineering side of things. So in the data science team, I worked with in our data collection team. So I would help collect the data, and create the pipelines, transform the data. Then we'd work with, clients and all that stuff. But data modeling is important, but it's a little bit more challenging in my opinion, a little bit more technical. So I wouldn't start with those things, no. Sorry, my nose is itching again. Just don't look right here. I'm reading more questions. Katerina Gentili said, feels good to listen to Alex's live whilst working on my dashboard because I'm finally employed as a data analyst. Woo! Congratulations. I love hearing that. That's awesome. What is the impact of CoPilot? Okay, so I had a conversation with Luke Bruce the other day around this exact thing. My wife is about to hop on a plane. She's just texting me, so I didn't want to ignore her. Apparently, Microsoft's having a little bit of trouble with their CoPilot to get it to do what they want it to do consistently. And he found some Reddit threads where there were like Microsoft employees talking about the issues they were having, as well as some like articles. So we were talking about this the other day. So Luke, if you're on here, thanks for sending me that and talking to me about that. But basically, CoPilot is going to be really good. Once they have it figured out, it's going to be really good. It'll be able to connect to things like your Excel, Power BI, Power BI, your like SQL interface, where you'll be able to help you write code. A lot of the issues that they seem to be having is for it to generate what's supposed to do, especially in things like Excel. So like, it's like, hey, create a table. And then it's like, no, it's not creating a table. It's just like inserting some random values. It's just not working properly. I think they're going to get it figured out. They're close. I'm pretty confident. I think it has a long way to go. They're having a lot of trouble with it. And we're early on. I'm fully aware of that. But things like GitHub Copilot, if you've ever used GitHub Copilot, is really great. And if you've used it, it speeds up your work a lot, but it still makes a lot of mistakes. And I've used GitHub Copilot for many years. So the impact is, it's not going to really negatively impact us at all. It's going to improve our work. That's for sure. I just got promoted to manager of analytics. Awesome job, Hijama 10. I don't know how to pronounce that. But hey, from Sudan. I'm way behind on questions, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm getting to them. We're up to the 350 people. This is when it starts. See, when we hit like 300 people, I start falling way behind in questions. So I do apologize. But yeah, someone else was talking about Copilot. That's my take on Copilot. It still has a long way to go. It's going to get a lot better over the years. But don't expect it to like solve. It's not going to like solve all your problems in 6 months, a year, or 2 years. This is like a long play for them. This is just like the beginning level of what Copilot will be. So someone's kind of asking about this recession, and can I get a job following your boot camp? Now, here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to kind of go on a small tangent, and then I'll get back to the questions. Boot camp is great anytime. Highly recommend doing it just because it's super comprehensive. It goes really in depth for most skills, which most even paid courses or you won't get unless you do like a really expensive paid course or like a Udemy course for each skill. So do it, yes. But the recession. So I do believe in the next now, even a couple months ago, 6 months ago, probably for the next year or two, we're gonna see kind of I don't know if it's a full-on recession. I'm not an economist. But from what I've seen, hiring is a little bit slower. Larger tech companies are really the only ones who are laying people off. But some larger companies are doing some hiring freezes. But I would say still about 75% of companies are hiring as normal. So we're having about a 25% slowdown. Let's say they're hiring 10,000 people a month for data analysts. Now they're maybe hiring 7,500. So there are still a ton of people getting hired. Still a lot of companies hiring for data analysts. But I do think it could get a little bit worse, in my opinion. I just see with everything that's happening with interest rates, everything that's happening with, sorry, somebody sent me something. I get distracted easily. Somebody, some of the things that are happening with, logistics around the world, with supply chain and all these things, with interest rates going up, and especially in the United States specifically, I do see it getting maybe a little bit worse. I hope not. But that's not just going to affect data analysts. That's just going to affect the economy as a whole, right? And it becomes even more important to make it like a really great resume as an entry-level analyst. So, all that to be said. Recession it happens. We ebb and flow. It's just part of the cycle of hiring in the world, unfortunately. Confused Capybara just sent me a super chat. Thank you so much. He or she said, love your content. If you were hiring a data analyst, what are some key areas you would look out in a portfolio project that makes it outstanding? Really great question. I was a hiring manager and I was on a hiring team. So for 3 years, I was in that hiring process. And I conducted the technical interviews for those 3 years. That was my part of the team. But you're talking specifically about a portfolio project. when we would get down to about 10 candidates, so we'd like filter it down, we get down to about 10 candidates, that's when we really start looking at their resumes. To be honest, we would get like 50 resumes and it's just like, nope, nope, yes, nope, yes. And then you filter it down to like 10. Usually we did that off of like domain experience. You know, we were working in really heavy healthcare stuff. So we really needed somebody who knew healthcare. The technical skills actually, for that position, that one position I'm thinking of specifically, for one of these positions, we were like, okay, as long as they have like the basics, like they know how to, because this was for a business analyst job. But for that job, I was like, as long as they have the basics, we really just needed somebody with domain experience. We would start really looking into these resumes and we were like, okay, let's really look at their healthcare experience. What do they know in healthcare? Let's see if they've built any projects, if they have a website, if they have a LinkedIn. And we would, I and then my boss, we were the ones, because we had 4 people on the hiring team. We were the ones who would go and look at their profiles, go and look at them, and we would get on a call and go do that like at the same time. So we get on a call and we go and look at their LinkedIn first is usually what we went to. And then I was like, okay, this person, write out, nope. Then we'd narrow it down to, even after those 10, we narrowed down to like 5 to 6. Then we would go look for like personal websites, portfolios, and then we would dive into those things. So the resume was the most important thing. Just don't, the portfolio project is not the most important thing. Your resume for getting into is one of the more important things. So you need a great resume. But with that great resume, then you have on top of that a portfolio. Now, typically what we would do is, and I'm going really long on this answer. You know, this is our process. We would look at them, we'd look at their resume, be like, okay, we want to know a little bit more about, they just have like SQL on their resume. We want to know more about this. And they talked a little bit about in their job description. We'd go to their portfolio. Here's what stood out. I say all of that just because that's the process. I say all of that to get to this part. When I would go to a portfolio, there were several things that kind of like caught my eye. And I'm like, whoa, this person is definitely to the level we need. And to be fair, like in my opinion, I was really good at SQL even 3 years ago for a data analyst. And if someone was matching that level, like they were writing some of this a lot more complex code, especially if they were doing with healthcare data or knowing how to transform the data, I was like, well, okay, this person is really good. I could like just off the bat see it. What made it really good? Typically because I would see a lot of SQL code. I'd also see a lot of like Tableau. It was very common. But in SQL code specifically, I would see their SQL code and I would know almost immediately if they were good or not. And it's become maybe a little bit different with the advent of ChatGPT, but back in the day, if you were creating your own stored procedures for like data cleaning and you're creating, they're called jobs in Microsoft SQL Server, if you're creating jobs, if you're using Windows functions and you were using things like cast and convert within Windows functions and stuff like that stuff doesn't just come naturally to people. You definitely have to use it to understand that stuff. So that stuff like was an immediate, kind of the more the advanced stuff. I didn't mind when I just saw more simple queries like aggregations and stuff. I was like, okay, they know the basics. That was my genuine thinking. But when they went to these more nuanced things that were more complex, I immediately was like, oh, that's really good. I know they know it. And then I didn't really have to bug them too much in the interview because I was like, you know SQL, I can just tell. But tell me more about like how you use it, what data you've worked with, that kind of stuff. Long answer. I apologize. Or I don't apologize. Oh man, this is great. Is it Alexia or Alicia? Alicia Brown? I can't tell. It's Alexia. Said, hi, Alex. I was able to get a data analyst position from watching your videos and doing personal projects. I'm only 5 months in my master's program for data science analytics. Congratulations. I love hearing that. There's been so many people today putting that in the chat, like stuff like that. I love seeing that. So happy to hear that. Congratulations. And congrats on the degree you're going to be getting soon. Oh, yeah, congrats on the degree. It's going to be awesome. Let's see. Okay, so somebody always asks some type of question like this. It's basically around age. Is age a factor? Age is definitely a factor, but let me get a little bit more into it and I'll try to keep it short. I'm getting long on these answers. I know there's a lot of questions. Is age important? Age is interesting. You can be too young. You can be too old. You can get a job when you're young. You can get a job when you're old. The extremes are usually the more difficult part. If you're like 18, 19, you're trying to get an entry-level job. can be a little bit more difficult if you don't have a degree. If you're 50 or 60 and you're trying to get a job, that can be more difficult because you're starting to, start to age out towards retirement, or at least like in the, that's what people are going to start thinking when they see that. Here's how you can get around those things. Being young, you just got to build projects and you have to like really hustle and work super hard. If you're older, if you're in their late 40s, 50s, 60s, it's not crazy old. I'm just like, this person said 55. If you're older, hopefully throughout your career or your jobs that you've had in the past, you can use some of that experience. For example, and this is the one I always use, but you can transfer it to a lot of different jobs. For example, I've worked with a lot of nurses who became data analysts or data scientists or specialists that I work with within the data field. They used that experience. They had been Judy, who I worked with, she was a nurse for like 25 years. And I think she was like 50 I think she was 50 when she first got her first job her title wasn't data analyst, but that's what she did. It was like healthcare specialist analyst or health analyst special. I can't remember, but it had the word analyst in there. She used her domain experience to leverage it to work at the healthcare company she's like, I've been working with these systems for 25 years. I really know them. I understand the data. And that experience is crazy important and super, super valuable. So companies are willing to hire, even if you have no data analyst experience, because your domain knowledge experience is so valuable to them, like insanely valuable. It really is. And so she was making really good money just because she really knew the domain. So for you, if you're 55, age is going to play a factor, but hopefully you can leverage your past experience and be like, okay, I really know construction. I really know finance. I really know healthcare. I really know one of these, a field, and I can leverage that into my work. Hey from Uganda. Hey from United Kingdom. Hey, how's it going? I found an entry level. So this is Roberino K. I found an entry level job, 80,000. They teach you SQL and Tableau. Too good to be true. Not too good to be true. Maybe it's possible. Not too good to be true. But let me give you a hypothetical, and this is not fully hypothetical. This is somewhat true. Some companies, there's a company out there in like Michigan, and they are having trouble hiring somebody. Believe it or not, there are a lot of data analyst jobs that don't get applicants because they're either in a rural, like a rural Michigan, or just a place where people don't want to live. They want them on site, or it's remote and it's just a really small niche, and they can't get people to apply for it. That happens. That actually genuinely happens every single day. I promise you. And what people will do to incentivize, they're like, hey, we just need somebody, because we really need somebody to come in and do this. We just need somebody who has like a really good attitude and a good work ethic and like kind of has an interest in this, and we're willing to train you. That is a very real thing. I've seen it a lot. So yeah, it could be too good to be true, or it could genuinely be real. You only know until you explore that. Oh, another one. Rose Happy Wishes. I love that name with the news. Hi, Alex. I got a job as a data entry analyst. Do you think it's relevant for my journey as a data analyst? Thank you. So data entry analysts, typically it's entering data. Well, first off, congrats on getting a job in the data world. Second off, yeah, you definitely can leverage it. Here's what I would say. Most data entry analysts are usually not super technical, right? They aren't doing a ton of coding. They're not even like filtering and querying data often. Sometimes they are. What you can do, and this is something that I've encouraged people to do and they've had success with it. I was never in this position. I've encouraged people to do this, and they do, and they say it helps. Find kind of the things that you can try to automate in your job. And entering data is automatable. Some companies don't do it, or it's difficult to do. Figure out how you can try to automate that and try to write Python for that automation and run it by your boss, make sure you can do it. Or try to ask them if you can, do some work on visualizing the data, or if you can put it into SQL to do this process faster. try to find ways to speed up your work, and your boss will most hopefully allow you to use some different tools that you can then say, in this job, I was using SQL. I used Python for automation. I did this. You have to kind of push yourself and push what your job description might be, but it's definitely relatable. And because of the title, it definitely can help you transition into a more data analyst heavy job. Matthew Alderman, one of my mods. Thanks for the super chat. You know you don't have to do that anymore, man. You do it every time. I don't know why you do that. But he said, hey, Alex, I'm going to send you a LinkedIn message. I need your brain. Yeah, I'll message you back. I got you, man. Yeah, I don't know why you always do that. It always makes me laugh. So I'm like, you don't. Just shoot me a message. Let's see. This is a good question. It's on technical exams in an interview. So Rianne Justin Policarpio. I'm so bad at names. Please forgive me. I'll be graduating with a computer science course by July. Would like to ask, what are the usual technical exams in an interview? That's a great question. I have a course that's going to be coming out in like a month or two. That's going to cover this exactly. And it's just on technical interviews, specifically with SQL with that course. But all that being said, here's what you're typically looking at. You have three different things. You have a whiteboard. You have the, what's it called? General questions. And then you have take-home exams. Those are the three that you'll typically see for interviews. Now, take-home exams aren't as popular, but it's kind of, you said technical exam. Take-home exams is they'll like have a pre-written script with some data or some scenario, and they'll give it to you, and they're like, hey, give us insights. It could be super vague, or they could be super specific and be like, hey, give us, this type of output, show us how you would write this code. And then you do it. And then you send it back. Typically takes an hour to 4 hours to do and send back. Then there's technical exams or whiteboarding exams in the interview. So you're face-to-face with them and they say, hey, here's some data. Show us how to do X, Y, Z. And you have to do it. And then the last one is just general questions where they're going to be asking you things like, how have you used SQL? Super generic, but they could get much more specific. How do you clean data? How does a data collection process work? Certain processes. Those can be much more difficult to answer. So all those things, they could ask you any of those things. Every company is different in what they're wanting and what they're looking for and how they ask it, but those are the three main ways. I'm looking at more questions. I'm playing some music for you while I'm reading these. I'll answer this one super quick. Samruda Borkar said how to give descriptions of projects in a resume. I usually keep it to 2 bullet points. First bullet point is, here's what I did. I built a dashboard using this data in Tableau and Excel. Super simple. Then the next one is what insights I gained out of it. Discovered 62% of applicants had this deficiency in skill. Who knows? Whatever it is. And then in the title of it, I give the project a title, and then maybe what skills I use next to it. Something super simple. I have a whole resume video that'll show you how to do that stuff. So go check that one out. So this is a super common question. And my audience, I don't know if you guys knew this, only like 20% of my audience is from the United States. The vast majority of my audience is actually in Europe and in Asia, India. That's actually where most of my audience is. So a lot of people want to work for companies in the United States, usually just better pay or work-life balance or stuff like that. So they want to get remote jobs or even jobs where they move to the United States. Now, I'm not an expert in this area. I'm just gonna caveat that this is not my I haven't done a ton of stuff in this, but I'll give you what I know. So in my last team, we hired consultants mostly from Lithuania and India. So on my team, I had people from there. And we hired mostly through consulting companies. Accenture, TCS, There was another one that we used for ever so slightly. It was like 6 months. But Accenture and TCS are super popular ones. You can look up other kind of global consulting companies. That's been my experience as the best way to kind of get your foot in the door with these companies. Because then from those consulting companies, we would then try to get them to work with us full time. Because we really like their work or whatever. But consulting was an easy way, I think, not easy. It's not easy to get to these consulting companies, but it was an easier way for them to get into the United States, these types of jobs. So very possible to do. I've also seen people, I've heard of people who are doing like Upwork or Fiverr and stuff like that and getting work. And then when they start working with a company, the company likes them and then they get hired on full time and then they have a full-time job. So there's different ways. That's just been my experience. Actually getting into the United States is like, the visa process is tough. I had to work with one of our consultants who we hired on full time with the visa process. It's a process. It took a long time. It took like 8 months for us to onboard him after all the paperwork, or, to get all the paperwork done, get it all signed off. It took a long time. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Can we use SPSS for future predictions? I've used SPSS a little bit. And yeah, I believe you can. Use SSIS more, if I'm being honest. But I believe you can. I don't have a ton of experience. I didn't use it for that long. We used it for like 6 months, and then we found a different tool. So not my biggest area of expertise, although I think I can say yes to that. What's your review on the advanced data analytics course from Google and Coursera? I'm not going to go super in depth. I have a whole video on that. My thoughts are I actually like it. I've been walking through it slowly. Just got to I have real work. And so like when I have free time, I try to take a little bit of it. But it goes much more in depth into like Python, which I really like. Let's see. There's a lot of questions that I've already answered. I'm probably just really far behind on the new questions. This question's interesting. I don't know if I'm going to answer it correctly, but how do you handle advertising for an analytics company? Now, the only reason I feel like I can answer this question is because I do a lot of consulting with startups. So a lot of startups in the data space. And that's a lot, not a lot of my work. That's like 40% of my work, 35% of my work has been that kind of work. They want me to come in. So like they're a startup, they're doing like an ETL, some ETL tool, or they're doing a data warehousing tool, or they're doing an analytics tool. They want my take on the tool itself. So like, hey, we want you to come in, test the tool, tell us where there's deficiencies or what we can improve. Or they want me to come in and help them market the product, or kind of like consult on the product to make it more likable. I don't know how else to say it. So when companies are like when they have these tools, and they're wanting to like advertise these tools, typically they're wanting to, target their main consumer. Like, who are they trying to target? Is it an entry-level analyst? Is it, C-suite executives? Like, what person in a company are they trying to target? Then they have to target the specific companies. Again, I don't know if I'm answering this question right, but you dig into the data behind what population fits this type of product, and how can we get our product in their hands? Is it LinkedIn advertising? Is it reaching out directly? Is it joining some type of service that helps get directly in front of, these companies? There's a lot to that. All right, Gregory, I'll do it. Greg. Hello, Alex. Do you think with the rise of AI, we should acquire domain knowledge in addition to just data analytics? I didn't actually read that question all the way through because I thought I was going to say something else. Yeah, domain knowledge is always super, super great to have if you can. I didn't start out with, well, no, that's not true. I started out with healthcare domain experience, but then I transitioned to IT and now I do consulting in a lot of different areas. Domain experience is super helpful, like really, really helpful. In fact, there is a tipping point where your skills become an expectation and the domain knowledge becomes the most important. So you get to like a place where you're like, okay, I'm really good at SQL, Python, all the tools, or Azure and all these different things. that becomes more of like an expectation for like a mid-level, senior level role. It's like, okay, he has to know these. Just if our company uses a Microsoft tech stack and he doesn't, this, right out. But if he has the Microsoft tech stack, okay, that's great. That's what we need. But now we need the domain experience. So as you get more into your career, 3 to 5 years is like where you should start developing more domain knowledge. So if you can get it, absolutely. With the rise of AI, domain knowledge actually I think is going to become more important, because AI, I think, is actually a lot better at the technical stuff. I don't think it's that good at the domain stuff. I've asked it questions in my domain and I'm like, that's not right. That's wrong. It's just wrong. It just hallucinates random things. And with coding, it's very not finite. Like you can get it to do a lot of things, but there's rules, right? There's this, then this, then this, then this, then this. With domain knowledge, I mean, that is, in my opinion, is a lot more complex as you get more advanced. It's like in healthcare, there were things like I would have to research and study and like really understand and work with the doctors at the hospitals. Crazy tough stuff, in my opinion. And if you go ask ChatGPT, they're not going to know. And I've asked it some things and it just didn't get it right, even on the simpler stuff. So if I asked it really advanced stuff, it needs to be really trained on this stuff. There will be AI tools that will, and Google talked about this, about training it specifically on healthcare data, specifically on finance data. And it'll get really good at that, but it's gonna be a long time before that's like common in that each domain. It's gonna take a long time. So domain knowledge, I think, is super important. It just becomes more important as you go along in your career. I'm looking at more questions. A lot of these I've answered, so they're like repeat questions. I mean, hey, look, I can take criticism and feedback. Barath Elongo said, I just finished SQL Server in the boot camp. It's very limiting in many ways. I mean, I can take the criticism. I just don't agree. Because everything in there is like, I mean, I give you the concepts. I'm not like, this isn't like a full course. I'm just giving you the concepts. You have to go and practice yourself. If you go and practice yourself, it won't be limiting. All right, I don't take criticism well. I think you're wrong, Barath. No, I get it. SQL is tough. It's simple, but it's tough, right? It took me many months to get like even the basics down. It didn't come naturally to me. So maybe you're just having a tough time. All those concepts that I teach in the SQL Server are all like really important stuff. If you can learn all that stuff, you'll be golden. You just have to practice with it. That's the tough part. So Barath, just go practice those things. I was just joking with you. Don't get mad at me. Let's see, what other questions we got? Higher education. Okay, so we haven't talked about higher education today. And this question is okay. This question did not. I read between lines when I read questions. Sometimes I'll read you the question, then I'll go into my own thing. Mohammed Abe said, any bachelor is working or specific ones. So basically, bachelor's degree, which one should you take? Now I'm going to talk about, sorry, I just popped on my fingers. I'm going to talk about bachelor's degree, master's degree, higher education in general, because I want to. And this is my live stream. I can do what I want. First off, bachelor's degrees, the typical ones. If you see ones like, there's data analytics degrees now. There's statistics degrees, mathematics degrees, finance degrees are even pretty good because they do a lot of data modeling and working with data, just finance in general does. You can even go as far as like getting an MBA with a business analytics concentration, or an MBA with a data analytics concentration, or data science degrees even. Those are good too. So bachelor's and master's, yeah, they can definitely help. Here's what I'll say, and I've been thinking a lot about this. I made a post about this on LinkedIn not too long ago. I think higher education is in trouble, in big trouble, and I think the value has been going down. I mean, the value has been going down over the years, and the price has been going up. Not a good trend for higher education. With AI stepping in, it's going to worsen both of those things potentially. They're gonna have, I think that having a degree is gonna become less important for a lot of areas where, like, you can't become a CPA. You can't do accounting without a degree. Those degrees you'll still need to get, unfortunately. It's just regulatory government stuff. But for things like data analytics, you don't need a degree. I genuinely don't. I think I have thought about this a lot. I'm like, if I went back and right out of high school, like really pursued this and knew what I knew now, right? Of course, that always is the kicker. But if I knew like how things work in like the hiring world and learning the skills, like if I knew how to learn, I like wiped my brain, but I just knew how to learn, and I did it back then, I could get a job. I'm 100% sure I could get a job as a data analyst and be as far in my career, if not farther, by my age without any degree. Like my degree, I don't think helped me in any way. Just didn't. That's my opinion. So I think more people are gonna stop going to college because you're gonna see it's the value of it is just going down and the importance of it is going down. But there will always still be higher education. I just think it's going to become less relevant or less needed. All right, let me look for more questions. Islam Hamatu said, Alex, can a data analyst become a data engineer? If yes, what is the roadmap? I'm going to cheat on this one. This is, and I talked about him earlier in the live stream. This is my friend, Benjamin Ragojin. He has a data engineering YouTube channel called Seattle Data Guy. Go check him out. He posted this, and I'm just going to read it. I'm cheating a little bit. But I commented on this, and I said, this was my comment. It said, I almost transitioned from analytics to data engineering back in 2020, which is true. I really had considered it. I had a guy who said he would bring me in. But then I got my manager position, and then was that before or after? No, it was before, but then I wanted to go that path. And I said, definitely agree with everything you said. So everything I'm about to read you, I support. His post said, a common path to becoming a data engineer is to start as a data analyst. This gives you exposure to data sets and processes that data engineers build. It'll expose you to working with data warehouses and data lakes, SQL, automating processes with Python and VBA, and data. Here's what you're asking. What is the next steps? Here's what he says. Once you've, and I'm gonna put this in the chat. I'll put this link to this post in the chat. You can read with me if you'd like. All right, I just posted it. You can go check it out if you want. He said, once you learn the baseline, learn about data pipelines, ETL, ELTs, and workflows, about distributed systems, practice data modeling for analytics and transaction systems like OLAP and is it OTAP? I can't remember. I don't remember the term, but OLAP is one of the more popular ones. Read up on software design, ask your manager to take a small data engineering project to work, subscribe to his YouTube channel. Hey, Ben, that's my job. Don't tell me what to say. So go check out that post. I put it in the chat for you. He is really good. He runs his own consulting company, much like I do now, except for data engineering. And he's very smart. I've met him in real life, talked with him, very, very smart. He knows what he's talking about. So go check out his channel if you're interested in data engineering. And like he said, a lot of people start out as data analysts and then transition into data engineering. I was super close because I worked on the data collection team. So we did data collection. It was called data collection, but I ended up doing like the whole process. So data collection is a lot of the creating pipelines, ETLs, working with data warehouses, creating data models for that data. And I helped work with all of that and helped design it. And I worked with database developers, data engineers, data architects, like data scientists. Those are the people I was working with. So I got to know, I got to learn the really technical stuff because I had to, because I was working with them to be able to talk and be able to work with them really. And I loved it. I love data engineering. I think it's great. I really considered, maybe it was 4 years ago, to do data engineering because I really like doing the ETL processes, the data cleaning, the transforming the data, creating the data pipeline. I loved all that stuff. I still do. So yeah, there you go. And then someone else was asking, Matisha Dadia said, hey, How should I transition from data analyst to data scientist? This is probably an easier leap, actually. And it's funny because in that same job, when I was working with them, I was working with data scientists. The data science team within our data science team, the data scientists were like, hey, we want you to become a data scientist. I didn't want to. I had worked with them enough to know that was like not what I loved and enjoyed. So I decided not to do it. But as a data analyst, they wanted me to become a data scientist. Now, how and why? The reason they wanted me to is because I was working with them quite a bit as a data analyst, and they saw that I really understood these things and I understood how those things worked, and I had the domain knowledge that they were looking for, which is hard to come by in the free market. Like just posting a job, it's hard to come by someone who had my experience and knowledge of the team and domain experience to then transition into that place and do really well. Like they knew, because they've hired people before, that's really tough to come by. I know it's really tough to come by. And so they were like, oh, it'd be so easy to bring over Alex as a data scientist because he already works in our systems. He understands the data, all that stuff. That's what I would do. Become a data analyst, learn the domain knowledge, start applying it to, if you work with data scientists, start trying to work with them, ask to be on projects with them, ask to work alongside them. Then you get experience working with them and you can transition to a data scientist. That is probably the best way to do it, in my opinion. You can also just be a data analyst for 5, 6, 7 years and then say, hey, I want to become a data scientist now. I've been practicing these. I built projects on these. It's harder. It's harder doing it that way. It is. So transitioning internally from a data analyst to a data scientist is more common from everything that I've seen, and it's probably easier. Ooh. Well, I can get some water. I'm going to drink this entire thing. I'm gonna drink. I'm almost done with it. I'm just so thirsty. Maybe I'm sick. I don't know. Allergies or something. I don't know. We already talked about this a little bit earlier, but we have different people. People filter in and out. Said PL asked, "Hello, how do you see Fabric?" I just did a whole video on Fabric the other day, so go check it out. Fabric is really, really cool. Fabric is they called it a unified data analytics platform. And what it's meant to do is just make using your data easier, having it all in one place. It's going to be stored in a Parquet format, which has become really popular. It was popular in certain areas for a while, but I think this is like probably one of the bigger platforms that's going to start using it more widely. Yeah, I could be misspeaking, but that's from my knowledge at least. What's really unique about it is the lack of data migration that you have to do. Data, if you haven't worked with in a company, a large company, or even medium-sized company, you have data in all these silos, right? And you want to use all that data from all these places, and you want to combine it, and you want to, do all these really great things. You have great ideas, and then it's like, oh, well, we don't have access to that data. We have access to this data, or we can't get access to them both at the same time, and we're not legally allowed to store it in a different location because of laws and regulations. This would allow you to view the data without having to do data migration, which means literally taking a copy of the data and moving it over here, and you're storing it and paying for it and all these things. So you'll be able to view the data and use the data without having to move the data. We used a product like this. It was called Starburst, like the candy. And it allowed you to do that. So I've worked with these types of tools before. I've just never seen it done end to end like this, which is really unique. Maybe not really unique. Other companies have kind of done this. Really unique from Microsoft. And I'm a Microsoft guy myself, so I love Microsoft. Microsoft never done this. And so they're making it to where you can access any of the data from with any tool, from any place, any cloud platform at least, as of now, and be able to just view it and use it. Totally different. It makes that a lot easier. Now, they've released a preview to it, and I've already got my hands on it. I've looked at the preview. I kind of messed around with it a little bit, but it's not finished. It's definitely not finished. Like I was getting in there messing with it. I'm like, oh, this is not finished, but it looks really good. And when they are done with it, probably maybe towards the end of the year, early 2024, we'll see. When they are finished with it, it's going to be really good. I just think it's going to take a while for companies to changing to that kind of platform does not happen overnight. You don't just buy Fabric Excuse me, now I got a stuffed up nose. Maybe I am sick. You don't just go from using one product and switch over to Fabric and all your problems are solved. It takes a long time to transition to different products like that, especially at large companies. So it's going to take many years for that to become like a mainstream product, in my opinion. And you know what it was? I mowed the lawn this morning. Stinking grass. Hands are on. Hey, how's it going? I'm sure you sent that message a long time ago. I'm just now getting down to it. I apologize. Mub Tassim Rod Sharar. I finished your boot camp. Should I learn more SQL? Yes. Always learn more SQL. I'm still learning SQL. I love SQL. I feel like my skill level is like at an entry level data and maybe entry level to mid level data engineer. That's my like SQL level. So I think my SQL level is like really good, but even I have a long way to go. There's still things that I'm learning when I use it for like clients and stuff. I'm like, how can we do that? It's like, I think it's possible in SQL, but let me research it. And then I have to like really dig into it. I love SQL. SQL's the best. SQL's not going away. I promise you. SQL is not even remote. SQL is becoming, is like a staple. It's just not going to go away anytime soon. So learn more SQL. Yeah, sure. Manik Halder, for a senior level position in data analytics, data science, what are the business round company? Oh, may ask during the interview. So during the business round, is that what you're asking? During the business round of the interview? They're just gonna, I mean, you know, typically they just want to know about how you've used tools, how you know the domain experience, how you work with people, what your work style is. These are all important to companies. So they'll ask you a very wide range of questions. Let's see. I'm finally starting to somewhat catch up. A lot of questions. But thank you everybody for joining. If you didn't know, if you saw Cancer on, they said hello. They're green and they have a star around their name, or a star next to them. They are a member of the channel, which just helps support me and do these types of things. I have like 100 members or something who just, it's just, you know, they want to support the channel. And so if you want to support the channel, you can do that too. It's not required. I'm still going to do these because I really appreciate you guys. But thank you for the members who you know, help make these types of things possible, for sure. I'm scrolling down. Is R worth learning? Absolutely. I joke about not liking R. I've used R in my work. I used it for like a year. And it's, you know, really useful, but I just prefer Python. There's so many more uses for it. It's so, you can just do so many more things with it. As you can see through my tutorials, I've done web scraping, regular expression, data analysis. R is great for data analysis and equations and statistics, and it's good. I just don't like it as much. You can learn R. In some companies, they only want you to know R. So some companies, if you know R, you might be one of the few or not the few, but one of the few people who has R on like their resume who's like applying for it. So yeah, why don't you just go for it? Let's see. How do you think AI will disrupt analytics workflow? That's a great question. So AI isn't, disrupt is not the right word. Analytics is a much more complicated process than I think is easy to convey, is able to convey in a video. Even I have trouble conveying it sometimes, the difficulties and the challenges that data analysts come by in the real world. It is tough. It is not just sitting down at a computer, going into SQL, looking at stuff, and then getting your insights and delivering it to a client. That is like probably 20%, 30% of what a data analyst does. In the real world, it is very complex, and you're working with a lot of really unique teams, companies, clients, individuals within your company. It's like an ecosystem. So a data analyst job is not just coding. That's a small part of it. And it's an important part. You have to know how to do it, right? It's very important. But once you get into a role and you start learning all the dynamics of the team, how they interact with clients, it is a lot more than that. And so from having that industry experience, I could imagine some of the coding in the future being automated, but even then, there's so much that goes on outside of just the coding or writing or creating a presentation or whatever. There's so much that goes on outside of it. The human piece of it, the connecting with your, not connecting, but like working with your clients, like so much. I can't, it's hard to, it really is hard to verbalize and even make a video on. And I've tried and I've done it in the past, and it's just hard to do because every company is so different. But I would say that AI is really a lot of what they could automate is a lot of like the coding stuff. In the future, it could be automated. Like I could see that in like 15, 20 years, some of it, or even a lot of it could be automated, but you'll still need people to monitor it, make sure the outputs are good. You'll still need to know these skills because, when it gives you the code, you'll have to use the code. It would be very dangerous to trust it blindly. And like, in my experience, at my last, and this is like the last thing I'll say. At my last company, I was dealing with my budget for just me was like $2 million. I had a $2 million budget for my team, for my software, for everything. That was my budget. That we were a small team. Other teams had much larger budgets. But if my team, we started, and a lot of the reason we had that $2 million budget was because we were really helpful to enable all the other teams to do really good work, streamline processes. So whenever we would get, we would put in bids for an increased budget, we would almost always get it because we were enablers for other people to make a lot of money. If we weren't there and they had to do all that themselves, they would just have to grow their teams individually with data people. It would increase their stuff a lot. The reason why I say that is these are not small budgets we're talking about. This isn't some small project with AI on the side, which is really fun to do and it's really cool. It's really cool to see. But when you start dealing with multi-million-dollar budgets, and mine was a small one, you are not going to trust AI. You're just not, especially with what you know about, with what I know about the mistakes I can make, with the hallucinations I can have. You're just not going to fully trust it. Now, you might trust parts of it and just have to double check things quickly, and it can save a lot of time on work. That's the real value of AI. But knowing me and knowing who all the people that I worked with, I guarantee you almost none of them are going to trust AI to the level where you'll see a decrease in the team sizes anytime soon. It just wouldn't happen. I can confidently say that because we're dealing with so much money. If you make some big mistakes in our cybersecurity team which we worked on, with our logistics team that we worked with, you make mistakes in those areas, we're talking like 100 million plus of potential loss if we have issues in those areas. So that's just, I spewed a lot of thoughts, but it's just so much more complex, the process of how data works in companies. It's not, people on Twitter, man, people on Twitter go, I'm going to do on a tiny rant here. And I said I was going to stop, and now I'm not going to do that. Oh, what time is it? 11:41. All right, we're going to go for about 15 more minutes. People on Twitter, on LinkedIn, they make it seem like AI is like the one and done. It's over. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's just typical people wanting to get clicks, and they have some good information, but it really goes so surface level. It's like crazy surface level. And so parts of what they're saying are true, like coding and stuff in the future could get more automated, but that's like only a small piece of the puzzle. So don't fully trust those things, in my opinion. Don't fully trust those people who are like, next year, data analysts, data scientists, data engineers, software developers are all going to not have jobs. I could not agree less. Dr. Punit FPS, thank you for the super chat. You didn't have to do that. I really appreciate it. Said, I'm 32 years old now and I'm not satisfied with my current job. I like to switch into data analytics. Is it good for me and also for the future? I definitely think there's going to be a huge market for analytics in the future. I mean, things like Microsoft Fabric. These are platforms where you need data analysts, you need data scientists, data engineers. Data's not going away. There's going to be, it's just so complex. It's not going away. Software engineers, data engineers, these jobs aren't going away anytime soon. At least that's from what I see. So yes, you're going to have lots of opportunities in the future. Is it good for you? It's really hard to say. You know, is it something you really like? Are you passionate about it? Do you have some domain experience at 32 years old? Do you have some domain experience that can help you transition into this job? You know, do you want to work remote or in person? Like some of the, you know, just watch some of my videos on like how to become a data analyst with no experience, how to become a data analyst in 2023, like those types of videos. And it might help, you know, might help you a little bit. Let's see. Nobody look at me while I'm drinking my water. You're not allowed. Oh, Kyle Croucher. Okay, this is an interesting one. Do you have any recommendations for promoting my freelance career? Had a couple of projects finished already. What would you recommend? Upwork. Would you recommend Upwork? First off, that's great. That's fantastic. That's real world experience. Whether it's small, big, whatever, you can put that on your resume. Use that as experience. That is your job. You're making money. Upwork, Fiverr, those types of places are good to go. There's a lot of people on them. Normally what I would do is, first off, you can put bids out to people so I've used Fiverr for random stuff. So I know how like the process works. I haven't used it for data analytics. But you can put a bid. You can say, hey, I have a project, and you put it out there, and people like you could then bid on that project. Say, hey, I really know how to do this. Here's what my estimated cost for this project, or here's how much I charge per hour. You can put bids out. So you can do it that way, or you can go on LinkedIn and you can try to network and market, or you can even do like some type of advertising, which I've never done myself, so I wouldn't know how helpful that is. But also those past projects that you've done, I'd go back to them. That's where, because I do consulting, right? I don't do freelance on those websites, but I do consulting. A lot of my work comes from repeat customers. I worked with a customer a month ago. They love my work. They're like, hey, great. I was like, hey, if you guys ever need anything, let me know. I was like, I'm here for you guys, and I know your tech stack now, and I you know, helped you with this. Then a month later, I'll just reach out. I'm like, hey, just want to check in, see how everything's going with, you know, the work that we did, see if there's anything else you guys need help on. That's repeat work, right? That's repeat customer. And they may say no, and you're like, no problem at all. If they say no, you're like, no problem. Just, you know, I'll check back in a couple months. But if you have anything, just reach out. You should do that with your past clients. You know, hey, just wanted to check in, see how everything's going with the work, and see if you need anything else. Simple as that. So that's some of my tips. Let's see. Zakin Abdul, is learning R good for getting a job as a data analyst? Yeah, there's lots of jobs that want people who know R or Python or SQL. There's some jobs just want somebody who knows R. It's not as many as some people who just want to know SQL or, you know, Tableau or something like that. But R is definitely a skill that you can learn and get jobs from for sure. Let's see, gotta read through here. A lot of these questions, if I'm being honest, that I've answered already, and that's why I'm skipping them. So this is an interesting, kind of a different take on something I talked about earlier. Mohammed Ibrahim said, after GPT and a lot of AI tools, what is required coding skills or problem solving skills as a student of computer science and interested in data? So this is gonna be, this is kind of like forward thinking, like what is, with the advent of ChatGPT and AI tools, which will help with coding in the future, what is going to be really important? One, you're going to need to know those skills really well, and you'll learn it faster as you use things like ChatGPT and AI. Once you know the basics, like it'll help you understand concepts, and you can ask questions, and it's great for learning. It really is. What's really going to be really important in the future is understanding how all the puzzle pieces fit together. It's a puzzle. It really is a puzzle. People make it look so, I mean, I go back to what I said. People make it look really easy, like, hey, ChatGPT, write this code for me, and it does it. And that's a super simple query. But then it's like, okay, but what if the data isn't in here? How do we get that data? Then you as a data analyst need to figure out how to go to get that data. work with data engineering, the database developer to, migrate that data or get a connection like Microsoft Fabrics, like we're talking about. Then you have to like rework all that, make sure the data is sitting in the tables well. Well, then you're trying to join the tables and something's off. So then you have to like, you can talk to ChatGPT, be like, okay, now this isn't working. It's giving me this error. It's going to spit out something. You're going to try it. It's not going to work. You're going to try it. You really need to understand how the puzzle pieces fit together. And that just comes from real world experience, right? I didn't understand that stuff at all before I became a data analyst. I didn't. My mind never, I couldn't have understood it until I just did it. Honestly, now that I've been doing it for like 6+ years, I'm like, oh, it's really complex. All these puzzle pieces, all these factors, all these things. So now that I've used ChatGPT with, clients and AI tools with clients that I've like for the past 6 months, that's everybody is asking me about it and wants me to like help bring AI into their startup. And I'm like, that's not my area of expertise, but let me bring in somebody else who knows that stuff and I can help, with that process. And so I've used a lot of these different tools and they're great, but you really need to know like how everything works, because now it's spitting out more advanced code, doing more advanced things. But if you don't know how to implement it to get the output that you need or to do what you need it to do, no good. So that's kind of the future, I think, of just coding in general, is understanding the puzzle pieces, critical thinking, problem solving. Like those things are going to be really important. And it does not come naturally to everybody. It just doesn't. All right, let me keep going. So a lot more people are asking about recession. Is it now a good time? I've talked about that quite a bit. But yeah, we might be in a little recession. It could even get a little worse, but we're still hiring, I think, at around like 75% capacity last time I looked, in data related jobs, which is lower, but in a recession type, 75% isn't bad. If you're talking a bad recession, you're looking at less than 50%. Hiring freezes, letting people go. We're still like 75%, which is really good. Is my boot camp enough to get an entry-level data analyst job? Yes. Yes, and it's free. Go do that. You just have to put in the extra work, like, build your own projects, study the stuff a little more in depth than maybe I went, but it's all there for sure. This is an interesting question. Actually, this is a good question, actually. Ahmad Rijal said, "Hi, Alex. Which of the following are correct? Cleaning data before conducting description analytics statistics, or conducting descriptive analytics, then cleaning the data." So are you cleaning the data or analyzing the data is essentially what that question is. So initially, when you get data from a client or wherever that source data is, usually you'll just try to bring it in as a raw data set. That's initially what you do when you first get that source data in. So you get that data set. Then someone like me is going to go in, figure it all out, ask questions to the client, figure out how to clean it. Then we'll put into that, and that's usually like a raw database, and then you have like a staging database, and then you have the production database, and so you have different tables and yada, yada, yada. Typically, that first pass, you're going to try to clean that data as much as you can, but how do you know what to clean? How do you know what questions to ask? You're doing analytics on it. Sometimes they go hand in hand. And I even say this in my projects. I usually have like a data cleaning project, and then I have a project on exploratory data analysis. Usually I have them separate, but honestly, in real world, you're doing them at the same time. You just need to know how to do them. And as you're looking into the data and you're finding whatever, then it's like, oh, wait, this is a problem because of this. Let me go back and figure out how to clean that. And then you do more analytics, and then you have to go back and clean it. Once you figure out all your rules for cleaning, all your business rules for cleaning it, you can bring that to like the data developer or data engineer and say, hey, I want to implement these tools on our new incoming data, so I don't have to do this process every time. So then you have a raw table, and then you, in how we did it at my company, at least, is we did more of an ELT. Extract the data from the source, load it, then we transform it, all within stored procedures and stuff automatically, right? So that stuff is intermingled. That's the real world. That's the kind of real world stuff that I'm talking about, that like, it's hard to like automate that kind of stuff. You have to dig in and do a lot of heavy lifting to then have it be automatable in the future. But even now, I mean, even now I try to automate as much as I can, and I can't automate enough. Like back when I was a data analyst for many years, I tried to automate as much as I could. There's just, you can't automate enough. There's so much to automate. I wish I could automate more. So AI is going to help with a lot of that automation that I wish I could have done. I was a data analyst again. Now I was thinking consultant. I just don't get to work as hands-on with all these cool stuff anymore, which kind of bums me out. Like that is one of the downsides. Like I do, some of my clients I'm working with in like Azure, AWS, and Databricks, and I get to use it, but I don't get to use it every day. That's what I miss, man, or girl, gal, whatever. All right, let's see what other questions we have. How much time do I got? All right, I'm gonna do one more question. I'm gonna answer one more question. And this is always the toughest part. Oh, I made it to the bottom. This is always the toughest part because the last question I want it to be a good question. If I can't find a good one, then tough. Let's see. Last question. What do I got? I'm at the very bottom. I'm reading your questions you're asking now. Still looking. Still looking. Hey, look. All right. This is a simple one. I'm not saying you are a simple person, but the question is fairly simple. Hidden Detailer asked, how can I practice my data analytics skills? You're out there, you're learning, and you want to know, how can I practice these? The best thing to do, and it's completely free, the best thing to do is build projects. I have a bunch of projects in my bootcamp or just on my channel in general. The best way to learn. It really, really is. So that is the biggest thing. There are also websites like StrataScratch or Data Lemur where you can go and practice like SQL and stuff like that. I'm going to give you guys, the 282 people are here. I'm going to give you a little teaser. You guys are going to be some of the first people to know. I'm releasing a website in about a month or two. I've been working on it for over a year. That's going to be kind of a competitor to things like Maven Analytics, StrataScratch, Data Lemur, these other Coursera. You know, I'm going to be releasing my own courses, and I'm going to be releasing coding questions like those platforms like StrataScratch. But in my opinion, it's going to be better. And it's amazing. It's already amazing. I cannot wait to show it to you guys. There's going to be so many other things I have planned for the future, like integrating AI into the website, and having projects on the website, and you know, some of the stuff is obviously gonna have to pay for. It's just, you know, it's gonna be part of like the business, but I'm gonna be incorporating a lot of free stuff as well, like free projects, and I have a whole list. I can't name them all off the top of my head, but it's gonna be one of the best, genuinely in my opinion, one of the best platforms to learn data analytics once it launches. So, you know, be on the lookout for that, but those are some of the places that you can look. Those are some of the places that you can look. But like Udemy, stuff like that, you learn, but then to actually apply it and actually practice, building your own project is probably one of the best things you can do. You get challenged in a lot of ways you don't when you're just like following a course. That's what I'll say. So with that being said, that's it. That is the live stream. That's our May live stream. It's almost the end of May. June is my birthday month, so June 16th. I'm going to be hopefully doing a live stream next month, but it's crazy busy, and then I'm taking like a week off for my birthday and some like family stuff. So I am 100% going to be trying to do a live stream next month, but we will see. We will see. With that being said, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys coming. I love answering questions. I love answering these questions. I mean, I think you guys have really good questions. I love giving back and just like chatting with you guys and reading the questions. It's super fun. I'll answer one question. I'll answer a couple questions. I'm gonna have a beta round. I'm gonna have a beta launch. And I'm gonna limit the amount of people who can actually join the beta launch. I'm only gonna have, because there are gonna be some things that we need to fix. Like, so I'm going to have a reduced rate with all the courses, all of the stuff. Most of the stuff is just going to be, you have to pay one time, then you're done. I don't particularly like subscription models because I think you guys pay more for it in the end, which I don't really like. I feel scummy. So, oh, hey, Sarah's birthday is June 1st. Hey, happy birthday. When is that? 2 days? 2 days. Early happy birthday. Happy birthday. But the platform itself is there is going to be a beta launch, but I'm going to reduce it to hopefully like under 1,000, about 1,000 people. And at once, like, I don't know how I'm doing it yet, but like I have courses or bundles and stuff like that. And after the 1,000 are sold, I'm going to cut off access to be able to buy it until we fix any bugs that we find with actual people getting in there. Because right now I've been beta testing or alpha testing it. And then we're going to launch it. It's going to be amazing. I'm crazy excited. And I'm building more courses for it right now. So like I'm starting with 4 courses, but I'm going to have 6 within like a month after it launches. And then I have more that I'm going to be doing. So I'm just like, I'm pumping stuff out over here. And it's really good quality, super, super good. I can't wait. It's going to be an upgraded version of like my data analyst bootcamp. It's going to be going way more in depth into the skills and like the thought process behind things. And I love making it. And no, there's no waiting list. Sorry. It's just going to be like a free for all. I apologize. But when that happens, you'll start seeing teasers on like LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff. Cause it's going to be, I think it's going to be awesome. In my opinion, because I've been working with it, it's one of the best platforms I've seen. Like, it's really good, and it's still in its like MVP. This is like its simplest form, but in the future, it's going to be even better, which is just crazy. All that being said, thank you guys so much for joining. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I just want to give you guys like the sneak peek, or like, you know, what's going on in the background. So thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate it. If you have any other questions, you know, message me on LinkedIn, shoot me an email. Actually, maybe don't shoot me an email because honestly, I'm like so far behind. Shoot me a message on LinkedIn. I typically can keep up with those easier. But I try to get back to you guys. It's just, it can be tough. It can be tough, but I try. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for asking good questions and, you know, providing good material for everybody. Because if you didn't ask questions, I wouldn't be able to answer anything. So. All right, guys, take it easy, be good, learn, and just do your best. Give back. Community, society. All right, guys.